Welcome back to America Decides. Trump administration continuing to criticize Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. President's top economist, his name is Kevin Hassett, you see him right there, suggested that Powell worked to help Democrats politically during last year's campaign by cutting interest rate. He also said the White House and its team is studying the law to see if it has the authority to fire Chairman Powell. California Democratic Congressman Mike Levin joins me now. Congressman, it's Friday. We're both from Southern California, so with your permission, I'll just call you Mike, if that's okay.
That sounds great, Major. Good to see you.
Good to see you. What do you think is at stake with all this conversation from the Trump White House and the president himself about the potential of firing the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell?
Well, this is just another example of executive overreach. It's clearly not within the president's purview to be able to fire the Fed chairman. I think that Jerome Powell has done a very good job during very difficult times for our nation, and I think he should be allowed to serve out the rest of his term. And I think politicizing the decisions of the Fed is extremely dangerous. It destabilizes confidence in the markets and is another example of American leadership around the world being doubted, and the stability and predictability of America as a partner, I think, is vitally important to our economic interests. And so, look, this isn't the first time the president has threatened this. It certainly won't be the last time, but he cannot do it. It's another example of the recklessness and the lawlessness of this administration in many different ways.
Mike, you've long been an advocate for a ban on members of Congress trading stocks. That's a fact. Do you believe during the interesting days of April 8th and 9th, members of Congress unduly profited from insider information?
I believe that there's a very high probability of that, Major, and we're trying to get the evidence. The Stock Act, which is the governing law here, requires that members disclose the trades they make within 30 to 45 days. And so we'll have a full picture of what trades were made and when, probably about a month from now. At that time, I'm going to be taking a very close look to see who traded on the 8th and on the 9th. We know that on the evening of the 8th, a number of my Republican colleagues in the House had dinner with President Trump. We know that at 9:37 a.m. on the 9th, the president tweeted, "It's a great day to buy." And then 1:18 p.m. on the 9th is when the 90-day pause was announced. I know my friend Adam Schiff in the Senate is taking a similar look at what the members of the administration may have done on the 8th and 9th, although there isn't that similar level of transparency. And look, I think every American should be concerned that there are members of Congress who may be using non-public information that they gain in the course of their conversations with the president or behind closed doors getting classified information or in any other means as members of Congress, and using that to enrich themselves. We are not elected to enrich ourselves. We're elected to serve the public. And that's why we need a full ban, as you said, on stock trading for members of Congress. And it's something that actually has good bipartisan support. Even President Trump was for this. Back in 2022, he said he supported a ban, and Leader Jeffries now supports a ban. So we're making good progress.
And Mike, remind our audience how this came up on a bipartisan basis in COVID, attracting even more attention from you and others who've long advocated for this ban.
Well, what happened at the beginning of the pandemic, Major, is we received all sorts of non-public information about the severity of the pandemic. And, you know, when I heard that information, I called my wife and said, go get some hand sanitizer and some toilet paper. Other members were buying and selling stocks. Some were selling cruise line stock. Others were buying pharma and other stocks that may have stood to benefit. And that's just flat out wrong. And all that's been documented. For me, when I signed up as a candidate, my wife and I made a decision to divest of any individual stock and to take that money, put it in mutual funds, because we wanted to know that we were serving the public interest, not our pocketbook. And look, at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that people can do for a living. If you choose to be a member of Congress or a public servant, it really does require that you set aside your own narrow interests for a cause greater than yourself. And that's why I think more and more members, as they look at what happened during COVID, as we see what may have happened during April 8th and 9th, I hope we'll get behind a stock ban. And I am confident, Major, if the Speaker of the House put it on the floor tomorrow or next week when we're back, it would pass. It would pass the House, it would pass the Senate, and Trump would sign it.
Before you got into Congress, you spent a fair amount of time in environmental policy and law. I'd like to get your opinion on changes the Trump administration intends to make with the Endangered Species Act and other environmental related policies, especially making it easier to drill, mine, and fish commercially.
You know, I'm so disappointed to see the decades of bipartisan progress that we've made on advancing bedrock environmental law pretty much go down the tubes all in just a few years. If you remember, it was Richard Nixon that created the EPA when California needed a waiver from the Clean Air Act because of smog here. Ronald Reagan was our governor. And then when acid rain was a problem and we needed to develop a solution, cap and trade was developed by George H.W. Bush. Here in California, AB 32, very, very comprehensive climate policy, was passed by Arnold Schwarzenegger and the legislature. So really only just a handful of years ago did this become so partisan. And the fossil fuel industry, you know, we talk about the impact of Elon Musk's hundreds of millions of dollars in the political process, Major, but only to be surpassed by the fossil fuel industry. Roughly $450 million that the fossil fuel industry contributed to the campaign. And I think that is now showing in all these decisions that are being made, which most Americans do not want: dirtier air, dirtier water. We actually want to tackle the climate crisis. And I'm just very discouraged to see it. And I hope that so much damage that may be done, I hope that it's something that we can come back from when we have an administration that actually believes in science again and wants clean air and clean water again.
Mike, last question. From your vantage point, what is the Kilmar-Abrego-Garcia case about?
It's about due process and about the basic premise that everybody who's in the United States deserves protections under our Constitution before they're deported. And look, I've had constituents deported who were here for 35 years, who paid their taxes, who did nothing wrong other than get bad legal advice, and every year would go back voluntarily to ICE and be allowed to stay up until this February when they were deported. There are examples all across this country, and I really worry, Major, that the stories like my family's and perhaps like yours and so many other Americans, they wouldn't even be possible today. If we're going to be so exclusionary about the United States of America, it's really just, for me, anathema to everything that made America great to begin with.
Real quick, the White House thinks it's a political loser for you and fellow Democrats.
Look, at the end of the day, I don't know. I'll leave that to the pundits, but I will tell you, there's the law, there's the Constitution, and that's got to prevail here. And I think the Supreme Court eventually will determine that what the administration's done with Abrego-Garcia and many others, frankly, is wrong. And, you know, the politics are what they are.
California Democratic Congressman Mike Levin. Mike, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Major. Good to be with you.